I have a list here in front of me of upcoming games which can only mean one thing. Shout out to the PlayStation Prospect, who, as always, being our go-to for what's to come. Go check them out on Twitter and, of course, on their YouTube. We've got a lot to talk about this week, so, without further ado, Toy Clash, which is basically one team versus another.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't use a bigger map for this. From what we've seen, for the people listening at home, it's people with two move controllers. You're dropping little characters down on a small semicircle, and they're working their way from left to right, while another group of people are working their way from right to left. It's very similar to those games that you see on mobile, where it's like a wave of tanks going up and a wave of tanks coming down. It feels a bit lowbrow, considering the size of the arena, what looks to be fairly uncomplex gameplay. Opinion?
It looks alright, but not for me. Somebody will enjoy it, I know that.
It looks alright, but it looks a bit simplistic gameplay.
Yeah,
but,
if you probably say this comes out on Switch, would you get that?
No.
No, so that's probably a downvote from us then. Next, we have a game made in the Unreal Engine called Envelor Verstand. No, possibly called Envelor Verstand. Blatantly made in the Unreal Engine by, I would say, an amateur, but I don't want to poke the finger really. But it looks similar to the sorts of things that we used to make when we were tinkering around in the engine in our youth. Don't know I can't judge it because we don't really know anything about plot or story. It could be very clever. It could be that what we're seeing is more of just a visuals naturally. It's a very deep storyline.
Just like a
I like that.
Showcase.
Yeah, it could be because you said that when you saw it, it looks like a platformer, which obviously it seems to be. So Mario first person would end up kind of looking like this. It's going to be a funny looking universe to run around in. So maybe it could work. But from what I'm seeing, a very simplistic, basically a demo. Whoever's made this is lucky to have it in development, but we will see when it turns up on the PSVR store if it's had any crazy improvements made to it, because it might be that it looks really a ton better. Really a ton better? Slap myself. Can do better. Next we have Quiver. At the might of
bring up my
arrows.
point from the last part. I'd like to bring up my point from the last podcast about VR games feel the need to have a bow now.
You're not wrong. It is becoming a bit over everything, the idea of having a bow and arrow. Because I get the idea. Like, obviously, it's a very hands-on way of doing anything. But that other game that we saw, Apex Construction, that's like going around and shooting like signs and shooting buttons and things, because you've got a bow and arrow, might as well make that the do button. And I'm like, but bow and arrow, it's not an end all to gameplay having a bow and arrow, but this looks like it's going to be a sort of online multiplayer game, so it's
and
somewhere
Overwatch with bows.
Yeah, I suppose Overwatch with bows. I'm not 100% sure. It looks slightly wave shootery, but we know that there is a degree of gameplay and multiplayer aspects to it. So if you like the idea of shooting everybody with a bow and arrow, this could be the game for you. Next up, we have Blunt Force, one that intrigued us, didn't it, Todd?
Yes, it did.
It's certainly one that looks a bit more interesting. A, it has a cutscene. B, it actually tells us roughly what's going on. A bloke is in the war against the Germans, and he wants to stop that from happening, as is the way with wars. And he has a watch of some sort, and there's some time skipping, and he's trying to manipulate the world around him into trying to make the war better. I don't know if there's some similarities to Dishonored, where he has a sort of piece of glass in his hand, and you can move yourself through to the same place, but at a different time. So it might be something like that. That's what I get from the trailer, that maybe we're going to be in one place, but you might be able to see it now, see it 10 years ago, see it 10 years in the future.
Okay, I get it.
Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Obviously, from that trailer, we don't know all that much, but we know it's very pretty. It looks like it's fairly Wolfenstein-y in a funny sort of way, running around with a shotgun, killing the Germans. Well, not the Germans, actually, the Nazis, because not just Germans. Germans are nice people.
Yeah.
My neighbour used to be German, he was fine.
Used to?
Well, he was. He transformed. After so long in England, you transform and you come out with a monocle and a top hat. You can only drink tea. Following on, we have the next game, which is set in Paris, and this is Wolfenstein Cyber Pilot. Because I knew I didn't have to worry too much earlier, because I knew it was coming up. In this game, we're fairly sure that you are hacking into a robot dog. Has anyone played Wolfenstein?
No.
Nope.
No. You've got Doom on the Switch, don't you?
I had Doom on
You
the
had
Switch.
Doom on the Switch. Did you complete that?
No.
Oh, it's a shame. You never quite got so far, yeah. Well, Wolfenstein is a fairly more hands-on version than Doom. It's got a fairly more in-depth story, basically. It's a more story-based Doom. There's lots of other characters that you meet. You're not just you alone in space.
Yeah.
There are other people in these cities. And in that game, there are these sentinels that walk around, which are the dogs. They're basically the robot tanks that the Nazi Germans use.
Yeah.
And they've made this game in VR where you can hack one and kill the Nazis back.
Ah.
It has its appeal, but not to us. Well,
No.
not to me. You too?
Not really.
No. We have Heavy Fire Red Shadow, which is a 360 arcade machine. I have mixed feelings about this, as you two know.
Yeah.
So for starters, I want to
Yeah.
hear your opinion.
It looks alright, but I'd probably not for me.
No.
Not for me.
Same.
No.
Someone will enjoy it, but I won't.
See, part of me thinks it's bad marketing. So I was saying this earlier. I think that the joy of like an arcade machine from like the 90s, the
Yeah.
80s, that sort of arcade machine where it's name an arcade machine. What was it called?
Pac-Man.
Yes, you're not helping. Was it Splinter Cell or Time Crisis? I think there was
Time
I think there was a Time
sounds
Crisis.
Familiar.
And that was very similar in the fact that you would be just shooting at waves of people and they stick their hair down, you shoot them and they keep coming and you're on
Yeah.
a rail. So I kind of like the idea of going, we could build this and keep it this way but make it 360 because you're in VR now and there's something kind of nostalgic to it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's if you get what I mean, because if it's being made like this on purpose to be retro, to
Yeah.
imitate an arcade machine, then I think it's very clever. If it's their best attempt at today's modern
Yeah.
shooter, then it's shite,
It's
and
failed.
then it's failed miserably. So I think it depends on your angle, because there are a few other games on PSVR and VR in general that have an arcade cabinet in front of you,
Yeah.
and you start playing a game, and then you can sort of stick your head through the window. Which is
Yeah,
weird
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
like real
yeah.
on the other side. It's almost like a door, and you can see your head through, and you can play it as however you like. That was one PSVR game that came out a little while ago. So I kind of like the arcade cabinet thing. It appeals
Yeah.
to certain people, but again, probably not one for the VR sofa in general has its thumbs up. For.
Yeah.
Next, we have Naked Sun, a confusing but weird-lookingly pretty game.
Yeah.
Coming to VR and PSVR in general, we assume, from what we've seen of the trailer and what you're seeing in front of you now, it's all basically images. But loads of robots rule the world.
Yeah.
And there are some people left behind in little cities that they've built themselves that are trying to survive against their robot oppressors that now control everything. It's almost like if Facebook took over, everything, and then suddenly
Yeah.
Facebook one day decided, actually, I'm not too fan. I don't like all these people being friends. And we all
dislike.
like everything. Dislike. The justice system in the future. You stand
Yeah.
in front of a big screen and it goes, how do you plead? Not guilty. Dislike. No.
Trapdoor opens
Yeah,
up.
it's like, but yes, that's the concept in this game anyway.
Okay.
Fighting. So it's kind of like the Matrix if we didn't all get clambered into machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like the idea. Hopefully we'll get to see some actual gameplay of it soon, because obviously we only have pictures
Yeah.
at the moment. But nice idea. I think it's something we could all get into eventually. Gungrave VR, which I'm pretty sure is either out now or coming out very soon. Very soon to PSVR. And this kind of reminds me of the Deadpool game. I don't know about either of you, but bits of it are third person, bits of it are first person. From what you two have seen so far, what do you think, Mike?
I look at this and I see that somebody's made a game about that character in Bebop who drags the coffin.
Oh, what, in Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like that. I don't think he drags a coffin, though. He drags a gun. It's a very large gun that he has with him. It's kind of like an evil Captain America from what I've seen. I don't know whether it's going to have a really good storyline, but from what I'm seeing, it looks like a lot of fun. What about you, Todd?
Yeah, it looks like I would enjoy something like this. I like the cartoony kind of art style to it.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Deadpool game
Yeah.
more than anything else. It depends on whether the comedy's any good. If it's not funny, it's not going to be any good, because there are games like this I can already play.
Yeah.
That's the problem with VR as a whole, is you've got to do something new. Otherwise you just fall into the cracks in the floor. Finally, we have Table of Tales, which is something we've talked about some time ago and now has been officially announced for PSVR. It's the Dungeons & Dragons game, where basically you get a board, springs up with cubes, and each cube is a tile, and the tile you get sand tiles. So it looks very Minecrafty. It's an environment made of blocks. You walk your characters through square by square, and you play Dungeons & Dragons alone. I assume maybe multiplayer. Mike?
But no, I just found that the people who made this game also do the role-playing books, me and Darren play.
Oh, really? The role-playing, the actual books?
Yeah, on the
I
app.
love those. That's fantastic. For people who don't know about the role-playing books, as it were, back in the day, they used to make a book.
Well, they
Lots of books, where you read them and you get so far and it says, what do you want to do? And it's basically the same rules as Dungeons & Dragons, where you've got to have an inventory written down, a different bit of paper and everything, and it goes, do you want to do this? And you turn to page 50 if you've chosen to turn left. And you flick all the way through, and then from page 50 onwards you read, and then it goes, you've come across this, go to page 25. And they are really thick and they're really complicated to write, very complicated to write. They've got lots of multiple endings. They were great fun. I used to read them a lot as a kid, because you have to have dice and you have to write everything. Goes, I've bought this much with this money, and you have to do it all yourself.
Yeah.
You're basically playing Dungeons and Dragons alone. So that was great. So if it's by people who have really got down how to write a good complicated storyline like that, that only makes me all the more keen to play Table of Tales. That really does look a lot of fun. And now, moving on, we do have a special segment, because we're going to go through the things which were available at E3, or at least shown at E3 this year, coming to PSVR soon. Some of them are a bit weird, but we've got a lot to say on the matter. And I believe first up is Tetris? I think it's Tetris. Yes, it's Tetris Effect, which is...
Trippy as all hell.
Trippy as all hell. You're playing Tetris in front of you, and the idea is there's lots going on, lots of very psychedelic music, lots of things that are fading in and out. It's a real trip experience more than anything else, and it's based on the idea that back in the day, I don't know if anyone else at home will have had this, I'll just go through the syndrome itself for some background. If you've ever worked in McDonald's or Burger King or Wendy's or any of the retailers that you can think of that have a beeping noise going off all the time, and then you go home and you can still hear that beeping in your head, and then you do it day in, day out for months, but you just can't get rid of it. Like, you start hearing it wherever you go. That is named the Tetris effect, and it was discovered when the game Tetris came out, because people would play Tetris, and they started to do experiments on people who had no memory, and people who had memory, people who had been lobotomized, people who were insane. They gave them Tetris, and they'd all come back with the same results, which is really freaky. So people could go, who had no memory and can't remember playing the game, will go outside and the next day still go, I'm seeing like little triangles and shapes and things, and then they go, how do you feel, what are your symptoms? And they'll write down, and the symptoms matched people that have been playing the game for years. And it's just an effect of the brain, where if you see something long enough and repetitively enough, it really sticks, and it becomes almost ingrained. This PSVR adaptation of the game is meant to play on that, to the point where you're supposed to just sort of become part of the game and completely zen out, and sort of just become part of the music. And because the game, obviously when they first made the game, this is kind of what he had in mind. Is kind of, that's what they're trying to say, is that it was meant to be a more technicolored experience, this whole zenning out on your Game Boy, and they couldn't do it, and this is what it was meant to be. It's also kind of based on music and to music, and that's always a good thing from my point of view.
Right.
Mike, what do you think about the Tetris effect?
I'm actually looking forward to it. I've never looked forward to a game like Tetris, so it should be fun. And in VR as well.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting just for the VR aspect. It'll be fun to play. I don't know if it'll let you use your own music, but if it does, then we're all one up.
Not really my kind of thing, but I don't know.
You can see the appeal,
I can certainly see the appeal.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. It's not going to be for everyone. Certainly, flat gamers with their handheld consoles could never possibly understand.
How dare you? I can game in places you can only dream of.
He's right. You're right as well. I could never take this on a plane. Next, we had a very good announcement for me. And for both of you, are we thinking? You two are kind of on this, aren't you? A little
Yeah,
bit?
it's
give it a go.
lightsabers. It's
Excellent.
lightsabers. I want lightsabers.
They're good. They're all in a win for once. Beat Saber has been announced as finally coming to PSVR, something I have had my eye on for some time. If you've been anywhere near the Facebook group, then you have been inundated with every time they update the game. The music that's been involved, there are videos of people doing this Darth Maul style, updates, mods. I can't wait. When it gets to PSVR, there's going to be so much content that's been nailed out on PC. It's just going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have an opinion on Beat Saber? Other than how fantastically amazing it is?
Lightsabers.
Lightsaber, you're alright with that. Todd?
I'm not usually into like rhythm games, but that seems more like my kind of rhythm game that I would be willing to try.
If you're going to cut things in half with lightsabers, then this is where you're going to do it.
Yeah. Go start training
Unless
somewhere.
EA does something magical.
Yeah, and actually does a damn Star Wars lightsaber game. It would be nice. Next we have Ghost Giant?
Or Giant Ghost.
Giant Ghost? Ghost Giant? I'll find it. There's a name somewhere. Ghost Giant, right, we've got Ghost Giant. Ghost Giant is, as it sounds, it's basically Pete's Dragon, from what I can see. For people who don't know Pete's Dragon, now we're going to have to explain that. If you've got a boy who has an invisible dragon, and no one can see the dragon, but he can see it when it chooses to be seen. And they go throughout the day, and obviously he walks down the road, and next to him there's massive footprints in like the wet concrete.
Okay.
And everyone's like, oh my god, there's an invisible dragon, but no one gets to see it. This looks like a sort of VR adaptation of the idea of you being the invisible person
monster.
and the child being the character. That's like, oh my god, what are you? Where have you come from?
Very moss.
Very mossy, very mossy, as it were. Oh, it's moist and damp and mossy in here. I really like the idea of being able to play through a whole story from the point of view of being like a character in a game. So, if that makes sense, so rather than doing it myself like Skyrim, where they don't really refer to you as a person, you are you. I like the idea of actually role playing to some degree. You aren't just you here. You're part of someone else's world. They're more curious about where you've come from than you are about going into some other place. I think that's a really neat idea. I think that's what they tried to do with Moss, but maybe not having Quill talk to you broke that a bit. I think having a little boy or cat person that's really talking to you and emoting with you is going to make more of a difference. Oh, this is quite an interesting one for me because it's by Ubisoft and Spectavision, who do movies or produce movies. Spectavision, so you might have seen that at the beginning of a good film, a good old televisual enterprisal movie. They have those, and they've decided to work together to put together a very cinematic PSVR game, a real experience of horror. And it's called Transference, if you didn't know, and it's about a bloke who, I think, from what we've gathered, has built a virtual version of his family, and he's downloading them into it. If I'm wrong, then so be it. But from what I can tell, that seems to be the case, that you're either playing from a little boy's point of view, the son who's been entered into the world after the plans were finished. Maybe the world's going to blow up, maybe it's safer in the computer, maybe he's mental, maybe it's like a horror thing. It looks more horror based, like Soma or Amnesia. But I don't know if it's sort of meant to be down the line of like you're being saved from something, or if there's an apocalypse going on that's caused this. So it's all a bit out in the open, we don't really know. But it's being designed by filmmakers, so we should have some faith in the plot and the story being pretty good.
I like the look of this.
Go on.
It looks like fun. It looks like my kind of thing.
Yeah.
I would definitely play if I had a VR headset.
Yeah, that's a good answer. You'll get to play it here, to be fair. We can always try and fit you in for an episode. It's a shame Soma never came to VR, because that was one you liked, wasn't it? Soma was good.
Yeah.
What about you, Mike?
Yeah, it looks alright. Kind of looks like someone else's take on the Matrix.
It is basically someone else's take on the Matrix. You're not wrong. Someone's built their own little virtual space, so we assume. So there's that. That's another one that we've really got to look forward to, and that's coming out in fall. So that is this year, so it's not a massively long time to wait. Oh yes, it's Echo the Dolphin, but not Echo the Dolphin, because we're actually like what did you compare it to, Todd?
Oh god, I can't remember what the name of the game was, but you're controlling a bird with the left analog stick and a fish with the right analog stick, and you're just avoiding obstacles. I think.
On that ring that's on
and
screen. By the looks of it, this is the same concept but in VR and with two dolphins.
Yeah.
I'm not really my thing. It's
No,
not even
no.
to music, which sounds silly, but like it's not even to music, which you think would be a no-brainer
Yeah.
if you're gonna go on a rail and be moving around pretty dolphins and pretty lights. Oh yes, this is one you wanted to talk about, wasn't it, Mike?
Yeah, the From Software VR experience.
Ah, what's it called?
Deutsche?
Deutschlean or something.
Yeah, I could be wrong.
Deutschlean. Not sure. I don't know what I want to think about this. I don't like the idea of doing another puzzle game, which is what I think this will be. But I do trust From Software. They made the Dark Souls games and the Bloodborne games, so they know how to do something fairly out there. They know how to subvert my expectations. So I have my hopes up there could be something good here. Tricky to say though from such a vague trailer. We don't even know if we're walking around or if this is going to be a point-to-point based game. But I'm hoping there's going to be a bit more life and walking around to it than what we see here.
Yeah.
I
Need a
trust them.
gameplay trailer.
Yeah, there aren't enough gameplay trailers anymore.
No.
Just as a rule. Finally, a game that we can talk about with a bit more lackluster.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty creators, Justin Roiland,
Yep.
has gone on to make Squanch Games, where they now do a lot of VR titles, and he's moving into, I know it's called Squanch, that's the name of the company is Squanch Games, and they've gone into platforming, also it would seem. Apparently there's lots more to the game that we haven't seen.
Okay.
It is a 10-15 hour experience, so it's not a short VR experience like his other one was. This is a real game apparently, with a storyline and a plot, and it's set in an entirely new universe. It's called Trover, so Trover saves...
Trover.
It is Trevor, or Trover.
Trover.
I think it is Trover. Trover saves
yeah.
the universe. And we just have to explore that universe with him and hopefully save it. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think? You like this sort of thing?
Well, yeah, if it has Rick and Morty charm all over it, then yes.
Then there's no more to be said, basically. It's a win. Mike?
Yeah, I still want to play the
Accounting Plus. Yes. See, I wouldn't mind playing that, but I don't think it's really like a full enough game experience. And we've seen it being played by other people. I've watched people playing it on the internet. And it's been pretty good. I don't know if it's worth the money. I would like to see it come down in price on a sale or maybe be free on PSN. But it's a difficult one. I don't know if it's an 18 only. I feel like it might be. It should be. They're normally pretty. It was pretty out there, but they normally are with the Rick and Morty creators. So there's that. That's about it. Thank you very much for listening or having this video on YouTube in the background. We do our best and we do appreciate you choosing your time to spend with us. So until next time, please like, subscribe, leave that amazing comment down below on any video. Find us on Facebook, Twitter. And it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from Todd.
Goodbye.
It's goodbye from Mike.
Bye.
You stay virtual, people.